Welcome to today's discussion. Today we're going to talk about what I call stellar humans. What some people like to say as ETs, aliens, etc. Now, we know that there are many types of these races, many types. But today I want to focus on the human types. So that's why today we're going to focus on this. So we're not going to talk about any of the mantids and the reptoids, whatever. Stellar humans, and I call stellar humans by this term STELANS. Stellans. Stellans. So when I say stellan, I mean a stellar human. What most people will say, well, star people, or a more common term is star being. Star being. Now, a star being can be something, can be like a mantid, which is like an insect. So star people, so star being is a larger descriptive. Star people, although a mantid is a person. People tend to be more human looking, okay? Human looking. ETs, how's that? See, that was easy, right? Human looking ETs. That's what he's talking about. I don't understand all that stuff, man. Human-looking ETs, because some humans are ETs and some ETs look human. So that might be a new thing. If you've been following my work, you are aware that some ETs look human. Human-looking ETs. Because Earth is inhabited by humans, mostly. I gotta have that mostly. Mostly, because we don't know all the secret stuff, right? We don't know the secret stuff. So let's say Earth is inhabited by humans, and today I'm going to talk about humans human-looking ETs. So what am I saying? What am I saying here? So Earth is inhabited by humans, but some of the humans on the Earth, this is our Earth, right? This is planet Earth, and our artificial moon. So humans on the Earth, some of them are ETs that are human looking. Now, we're going to stretch it. I'm going to stretch it one more point. One more point. Right? Let's go over here. The assumption is, this is the assumption today. And this is my research, this is a widespread assumption that humans are from Earth, planet only. That's the assumption, right? That's what we were told. Told by science, right? Science, astrophysicists, scientists, anthropologists. Should I write it all down here? Anthropology. Astrophysicist. What do they say? Astrophysicist says there is no intelligent life outside Earth. That's an astrophysicist, which is a scientist. Anthropology, in anthropology, we have evolution. Right? The man descended. We are the descendants, right? You have this caveman to modern human, right? Neanderthal. So that the lineage, right? This is the lineage. So science says that we evolved. The human race has a lineage from primordial, proto-humans, Neanderthals, to the modern human. Astrophysicist says, not only recently, they say, while there may be habitable planets, there is no intelligent life outside of Earth. And this is education that's been hammered into our brain. And anybody, if you challenge that, you are a conspiracy nut. When you challenge science, because science is based on fact. Fact, we haven't found any intelligent life, so it doesn't exist. Fact, we found bones, so therefore we evolved. That's science. So my discussion contradicts conventional science, because my understanding, my experience, and many of you do believe that there are these extraterrestrial beings and off-planet people. Now, I'm focusing on these stellar humans today because we're a mostly human-populated planet. I think we can all agree on that. Earth is human. But we know that ETs are visiting Earth, right? We know that ETs, they're coming their ships, right? And they're visiting Earth. And there are many theories on what they're doing here. And they're doing many things here. But what are they doing when it comes to this understanding here, human-looking ETs? And what's important to understand is that there's this assumption, and this is a widespread assumption. Humans are from Earth, planet only. In other words, there are no other humans, and science says no intelligent life. We are the only intelligent species. Now, when you argue this point, most people will say that we are visited by these ETs, by these mantids and reptoids and stuff, right? What I'm saying is, so they say there is life, it's advanced, and they look like mantids, reptoids, and little grays, right? The grays, poor grays. So if you argue against it, you go here. What I'm saying today, that the focus of my discussion is that aside from these people, which I do believe exist, there are these Stelans, that they're human-looking ETs. So there are these the little grays, the mantids, the reptoids, the bird beings, etc. There's quite a few. There's a list. But there are also these human-looking ETs. Now, and the assumption, again, understand the assumption, humans are from Earth planet only. So now, we have these star beings, okay? We're generalizing the term. We have these star beings visiting Earth. But Earth is human. So what do these star beings, what are these grays and mantids and reptoids and feline, there's the feline beings, there's the bird beings, what do they want with humans? And then you get into the propaganda, the intelligence propaganda. They want our genetic material. And I'm writing it quickly because it's just garbage, right? And they want all these things. But today I'm going to show you what they really want and what they're really doing. But this you have to understand this picture. You have to understand this picture. That there are these star beings, and Earth is inhabited by humans, but there are also these human-looking ETs, right? So what am I saying? What am I suggesting? What am I suggesting when they're human-looking ETs, and we believe falsely humans are only from the Earth? What I'm saying is that there are humans on other planets. So you'll have a planet of Persians, you'll have a planet of Chinese, you'll have a planet of African type, you'll have a planet of Caucasian, etc., right? You'll have a planet of Vietnamese, Italian. There may be a planet of Italians, right? Mm-hmm. So these may be different planets. Now this is important. This is all the background I want you to start thinking about. So that there are humans on other planets. What's unique with our planet is that we have all these races here, which is good for the media, for all the racial tension. But it's a much bigger story than what's being played out in the media. Much, much bigger. And we're missing the really beautiful picture, right? That we have, instead of all these racial tension and discrimination, it's covering up, it's distracting us from what's really going on. Is that all of these races, right? They come from other planets. So we are, humans. There are humans on other planets and lots of races. So we have a planet, right? We have a planet inhabited by humans with all of these different races. And they have their own countries, right? But if you took one of these from a country, you could take it back to its own planet. It would have its own planet. There might be a planet of Vietnamese people, Vietnamese and Thai people. There's a planet of Persians, the planet of Arabs. Don't forget the Arabs. Right? I'm not going to cover all the races. There are lots of, lots of races, lots of planets, and they're spread out over the universe. This is my understanding, right? I am sharing with you my understanding. And this is going to take us, so you got that, right? The assumption is humans are from Earth only, because we are told there's no intelligent life outside of Earth. Therefore, we are the most intelligent species in the universe, in the known universe. But they'll say, if we ever get out there, we might find some, right? According to evolutionists, right, anthropologists, we got the bones from proto-humans dating back millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years, and they're similar to us, and there's a progression. We call it evolution, and therefore the modern human are these people, right? So that the caveman evolved into a Persian, a Chinese, an African, a Caucasian, a Vietnamese, an Italian, etc. It's like one type of person evolved into all these races, and there are 220 countries. There are 221 countries on the planet. There's a lot of races here. So how could it be possible that a proto-human, which is a Caucasoid proto-human, evolved into an African, right? You'd have to have, if there's an African proto-human, they'd have to have a Chinese proto-human, a Persian proto-human. But I'm going to change all that because it's too confusing. And then, we get into the, let's flip over here. Let's get into, there's the other idea. Now, if you don't believe in science, you believe in religion. You have a belief. There's a guy called Adam, and there's a woman called Eve. Now, they are the progenitors to modern human. Right? This is religious. There's an Adam and Eve according to the scripture. They're the progenitors to the modern human. So the argument is hard to follow at times, because if Adam and Eve were white, then the planet would be white, right? If Adam and Eve were black, then the planet would be black. If let's say Asian, if Adam and Eve were Asian, then the planet would be Asian, etc., right? Etc. But in this case, we have Adam and Eve, who presumably from the Middle East were dark-skinned. So they produced, 220 countries. So the religious scripture, and I'm going to talk about this in an upcoming video, who Adam and Eve really were. But this argument is hard to follow, simply because, if Adam and Eve were white, Caucasian, they could not produce an Asian child. So we could not have an Asian population. So you'd have to have Adam, Eve, Asian, Adam, Eve, Caucasian, Adam, Eve, black, right? You'd have to have Adam and Eve Vietnamese, Adam and Eve Arab. You'd have to have all of these Adam and Eves. You'd have to have a lot of Adam and Eves. The assumption, the story is there's only one Adam, one Eve. But we know that there are all these nations, right? 220 nations. So that's kind of our background. Because now what I'm going to talk about are the types of Stelans. Okay, remember, stellar human or human-looking ETs. And I'm going to talk about 5 types. Now, there are 5 types of Stelans. Now remember the background. My theory and my understanding is that star beings, advanced races, have been visiting here, have been helping us. That's the background. This stuff won't get into convention. But this is what we talk about. There are 5 types of human-looking ETs. So, how do you get the 5 types? Right? So, star beings have been assisting the evolution of this planet, right? Assisting evolution of Earth. That's what they're doing. And Earth is made up of humans. So how do they do it? Well, one way to do it is through the embryo. Right? This is your embryo. I'm not going to draw it. Here you go. Here's an embryo. And there's your cord. The embryo. So what do star beings do? What they do is when there's a pregnant woman, and she's a little bigger than usual here, what they can do with a pregnant woman is that they can remove the embryo. And they remove the human embryo, and then they put in, right, a Stellan embryo. So they could, people say they were abducted or taken and they were experimented on. Well, in some cases, right, in order to assist the evolution of Earth, they will work through at the embryonic stage. Now, I don't know the number of weeks, right? Because there are certain weeks. But there are certain weeks that they'll work in this window, and they will remove the human embryo and they will swap it with a Stellan. The Stellan is a human, right? Human looking ET. What do I mean by ET? It's just a human from another planet. But their genes, for whatever reason, they're different. And let's say they come from a more advanced civilization. They have a more advanced genetics. Let's make those assumptions. It's an improvement on the evolutionary scale. So that the star beings, in assisting this planet, will remove the lesser advanced human and put in the Stellan. The woman will have a child, right? This is the woman will have a child, but the child is a Stellan. Now, during the process, they'll have to do something to the memories. So the woman won't remember all of this procedure. She'll have vague memories. There will be an agreement. There always has to be an agreement. And this is a much more difficult thing to talk about, but there's an agreement, let's say a soul or spirit. There's a soul or spirit agreement that you will bear this type of child and you will raise it. There has to be this agreement. Now, there could be a dark agenda doing this without agreement, which is the cabal could be doing some of this without agreement. But the benevolent, the star beings, and this is a normal, but what I'm showing you is a normal protocol on how to assist the evolution of a planet. How do you improve the genetics? Well, one way is to change the embryo. This human will be taken somewhere else, and they will be genetically modified, and they will have a different mother. They will be taken to a different planet, or they will be raised on a ship, right? They'll have a different life. They'll go to a different planet. They'll go on a ship, and they'll have a life. So the embryo is one way. Because you change the memories, the mother believes the child is hers, and the child is hers. The child shares the DNA with the mother. You have shared DNA. And the mother raises the child, but the child is actually Stellan. So this is like a full Stellan. Another way is they could take the woman and they can genetically modify the child. So there's a pregnant woman. I don't mean to show always the woman here. I mean, it can also be the man. It can also be the man, right? But they can take the woman because the woman carries the child. So they can genetically modify the DNA, so that genetic engineer, you call it engineering, editing. Now, because we're dealing with star beings, so they are advanced and they have this technology. So one method is the embryo. Another method this is less intrusive, is genetic modification. They will periodically visit the mother, and they will make some genetic adjustments, right? And every mother, every family, every mother, every wife and husband, or husband and husband, wife and wife, they want to have a healthy baby. They want to have a strong baby. They want to have a beautiful baby. So it's in their benefit to have a genetically superior, right? Every parent wants a superior child to them. It's a natural feeling. So this just takes it to the next level. And this is done with agreement. There's an agreement. Now, because sometimes, we're not going to get into it today, but sometimes the spirit of the mother or of the father is also Stellan. I'll get to that in a pretty quick here. So there's an understanding, there's an agreement, right? And we've talked a little bit about that before. That's number 2. Number 3, right? The 5 types of Stellan. Number 3, this is where you get. This is where you get. This is where you can get a hybrid. You can get a hybrid here. You can get a hybrid here. Right? Because let's say this this embryo is spliced, right? An alien in a human, or an animal in a human, right? But this has been going on for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. You get a splice, you can get a hybrid. They could take an advanced embryo and combine it with a stellan embryo and get the DNA, right? You can get a hybrid. So the child is more advanced. The third type is a child. So the mother and the father, hey, I'm including the father now, and they have a child. Okay? Mother and father have a child. This is their child. Now let's say at age 3, a ship comes down and they bring out a child. And they say, listen, we will give you this child and we will take your child. A swap. Kind of like an orphan. But this is all an agreement. This is an agreement. And people talk about, child trafficking and stuff. I don't know how much it's part of that. But what I'm focusing on is something more scientific. But a child comes from a ship. The child is a stellan, and this is a human child. And let's say we swap them. Now, so the other child, this is the stellan child, will be raised by these parents. So in order to do that, memories will be adjusted. Now the parents at some level know, and if they want to know, they can find out. But most of the time people, we're too scared to talk about this topic. So what I'm saying is the parents can find out, but they'd have to go through their own process. They'd have to go through their own issues and challenges, and they would have to research it, and they would have to dig, and they would have to meditate to access that, right? You can't. If you tell somebody that, it could cause a lot of havoc. So it can't be told. It can't be told to people, and they wouldn't even believe it. So there's an agreement, there's a swap. The kid grows up. The kid is a stellan kid, right? So are you getting a picture on how this planet kind of evolves? The fourth type, let's talk about the fourth type, is the incarnate. And we've talked about the incarnate before, that a star being, okay, I'll just color him to be different, or her. So this is a spirit or soul. I use the term ET so we don't get confused. This is a human. It can be a hybrid, it can be normal, it can be genetically upgraded. We don't know. Doesn't really matter. But it can be any of those. So what happens is that an ET can decide to embody a human body, to incarnate. So this person will have an ET soul with a human body. Right? Now the ET could be a mantid, could be cosmic, Could be, whatever. It can be reptoid. But it could be anything. But this ET soul incarnates as a human versus a human soul. Right? Your standard human soul. And we've talked about this, the star beings incarnating as humans. And some of this is to go against the rule is an advanced being cannot live among a lesser advanced culture. So to go around those cosmic laws, if the ET incarnates as a human, he'll live the life of a human. He'll have the restrictions and the issues all humans have. Or she, and then they can live out, they have a mission. Now the issue with this is the cabal learned about this process. So what I'm telling you, they know. And then what they do is they target these people. They attack these people. And they go onto drugs. They go on to become radicals. They have all kinds of health problems, right? They have all kinds of issues because they're targeted. They're targeted by the cabal because the cabal knows about this. So their missions are always in jeopardy. Those who, and because most people, we don't talk about this, people don't know, they think there's something else. They might think they have a gender issue. They might think they have a sexual orientation issue. They might think they don't feel they belong here. Remember the Wanderers. There was this thing that was years ago, the Wanderers. Well, it's these people. They're an advanced soul, but they're here on a mission. They're not just here to wander. They're not just here to wander. And 5 is the immigrant. So, immigrant is pretty straightforward. A ship lands, a guy gets out, a woman gets out, and they look human. And they live here. Right? They find somebody and they have kids. Right? So the immigrant, sometimes a bunch of people will come here. Right? A bunch of people will come here. And they'll live here. In some cases, this is a lot more common than you think. In some cases, you'll have immigrants. You'll have even sometimes refugees. Refugees from another planet. They come here, and they live in a village. And they'll live there for a few years, and then the village will disappear. Because they'll all go back. It's safe to go back to their planet. There was some kind of strife or war. And they came here as refugees. In some cases, they get integrated into society, and they establish a new class of people. They even establish a new race, right? Sometimes anthropologists will find a strange village, and then the village disappears, right? So we get a lot of this. We don't know about this. There are immigrants, and there are these, like a Stellan family, where all the members, right? All the members, the children and the parents are Stellan. They're from another planet. But again, you get into this, memory. The only way it really works is if your memory is adjusted. Is your memories wiped. Same with the child, right? And memories are, and the memory adjustments are very common in advanced cultures. So you have these types of 5 types of Stelans. The immigrant, the incarnate, the child who grew up as a human with human parents, right? Human parents, the child, and the mother doesn't know or can't remember. The child, again, the child or the parent, they could remember if we had this kind of understanding. But we can't talk about this stuff. I mean, people are going to call me names talking about this stuff. It's taboo. Where's the proof? Where's the proof? Some kids are just genetically modified, genetically engineered. And you see that today. You see kids from different families. They all look very similar. And my point is they look healthy. They look beautiful. They look similar. It's a progression. It's an assistance in human evolution. My view, it's positive. You do get the black projects and the cabal doing some negative stuff, but that's not the majority. And then you get the embryo. The embryo is an intrusive. Again, the technology they have isn't, but they can, and they'll have a reason for choosing that method. And they'll have an agreement, and they'll have a reason for doing the modification. They'll create a hybrid. Hybrid may have health issues. They may look a little darker or lighter than normal. They may have emotional issues, right? Hybrids. They may have gender. Hybrids tend to have gender issues. But again, because we're only focusing on a very limited understanding of the human, when we understand the bigger picture, then we step out of the just the gender issue. It's your cultural heritage. What is your cultural heritage, right? And this is kind of my thing. And the star beings are they're very good at genetics, especially the mantids. So genetic modification, they've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. And modern scientists, conventional scientists are doing it now. They're gene editing, and couples are paying to have their children gene edited, editing out certain traits and editing certain characteristics. So we are doing it. Celebrities are doing it, paying money to edit their children. But star beings are doing it for free. And there's no charge to any of this. It's all free. Genetic. So sometimes, and why I bring this up, and then we'll finish with this, is because sometimes you have an issue with your identity. You have maybe psychological problems. You have you don't feel you belonged on the planet, or you don't fit in, and you look at psychology, right? You look at conventional stuff, but sometimes it's this, that your heritage may have, you may have an advanced soul. If you're an old soul, you could have an ET soul. So, we don't have that understanding in science, so you can't talk about it. But you should explore it. Does your family all kind of have a connection to star people? Well, maybe you're in one of these immigrant families that all your family members are Stelans. Do you have a mission on the earth? Maybe you're an incarnate. Maybe you're a child. You came here from a ship as a child, but you forgot. But you have a connection to star people. You don't know why. Why? Right? Embryo, you have less memory because you're pretty much attenuated to the human, and you've got more human DNA. And then you may be genetically engineered to the point where you're a beautiful young lady, and or you're a handsome guy, but there's more to it, right? You might have strong intuition. You might be able to. You might have gifts. But there may be more to it. In some cases, right? In a more extreme case, and we could add a sixth, maybe you can add a sixth type, is the hybrid. Next time maybe we'll do a sixth type. There's a hybrid. Hybrids they're very unique people, and they're more advanced, but they're also a different type of. My experience with them, they're a different type of human, and it's not always easy to communicate. They have a different social structure. They have a different way to understand things. It's hybrid to me is getting closer to the synthetic. It has a little bit of the synthetic DNA sort of approach. We haven't talked about the Stel. We didn't talk about the synthetics. So my understanding of the diaspora here, that we have a very rich cultural heritage, and I'm not saying not everybody is included here, but over the years and the decades, definitely most of the earth, most of the humans have been genetically modified. Right? Most, over 98% have been genetically modified. So it doesn't matter where you are or what you think you are, you have been genetically modified. Okay? Now there are different types. We are a modified race. That's the only way that a planet really progresses, and that's because we've been assisted. But you can't talk about this because none of this is true. It doesn't exist. There's no scientific evidence. Right? But I have to talk about this because this is my understanding, this is my experience, this is my research. So yeah, Earth is inhabited mostly by humans, but we also have some human-looking ETs, and the humans here have been modified for decades. They've been modified. And if one day we leave this planet, we will find humans on other planets. They won't be exactly like us, but you will see characteristics, right? There is an African planet out there, and different types, right? And they have, they're not the same as the ones here. So planet Earth, we are unique because we have all these races here, and they create these racial wars and racial tensions, but really, there's a planet of Koreans and a planet of Chinese and Persians, and we're all coming here to live together. And those are the five types of Stellan.